Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome. We got a lot of things going on right now. We're going live on all of the platforms, so I think I have it figured out. Welcome to a special edition of Build with the CEO. And I've got a fellow CEO on the call today, and she's going to share a bunch of awesomeness with us and talk a little bit about her journey, some stuff she's learned, and then we've got some like special surprises and stuff for you guys at the end. So hang out and jive with us. So, Jen, thanks so much for coming on.
Trev, I love hanging out with you. This is going to be a really fun live.
Yeah. So, I mean, first, like, I think it makes sense to go back a little bit to the journey because you made a big change in your kind of methodology and your thinking around nutrition coaching. And
Yes.
so, just unpack that a little bit for me.
So yeah, like many nutrition coaches, I started as a solopreneur and I did, the meme of what I thought a nutrition coach was supposed to do. So I thought it was all about I'm the expert, I need to assign macros and percentages and calories and splits and, write out meal plans for my clients. And I was burning out really fast. One, I find, at least for me, writing a nutrition plan is really, really boring. And then I was getting frustrated because I was trying to do what I call like cheerlead motivational coaching, which is I was like, yay, let's keep you interested. And I had this very like repetitive script of like, what's going well? Let's celebrate the wins. Where are you struggling? Okay, next action steps. And that had, I kind of joked, the expiry date of like a gallon of milk. It would last a month to about 3 months. A couple times I could extend the coaching relationship to 6. But what would happen is the interest and the engagement would plateau and then nosedive into the ground. And then I was left trying to figure out what I did wrong as a coach or how to get new clients. And I was burning and churning through my client list really, really fast. Maybe you can relate, or maybe you see that with some of the coaches that you guys work with at Coach Catalyst. So, what happened is around the same time, I was doing my master's degree in foods and nutrition, but in particular, I was studying behavior change psychology and using games and gamification mirrored in with motivational interviewing. And essentially my thesis was testing motivational interviewing and gameplay from a nutrition coaching standpoint in people that had prediabetes who were high at risk to develop type 2, and seeing if that had more impact on changing their behavior than the didactic expert. I'm going to give you a plan. I'm going to tell you how to eat. I'm going to tell you what to do with your food choices. And my thesis blew the didactic program out of the water. We did cooking classes. We invented like abundance games and mindset stuff. And we really focused on habits and skill building. And that group, their A1C got better, their blood sugars were better, their cholesterol came down, they lost weight. And I was like, I think this is something I have to bring into my practice. So I blew my practice up because I had a very like curriculum where I was like, okay, session 1, we're going to talk about this topic. Session 2, we're going to do this topic. And almost like school, I was like, I'm just going to take them through a curriculum. And then what happens when you're like, I've covered vegetables, I've covered protein, I've covered fluids. So what I did is I opened it up with powerful questions and I started to do motivational interviewing. And I'm going to pause for a second here and we can like riff on motivational interviewing and maybe explain what that is. Some coaches I know definitely know what motivational interviewing is all about. And then other coaches are like, what is that? Like, are you
Right.
more cheerleading because you're trying to motivate them? So we can kind of talk about that.
Well, let's take one step back. In You were kind of curriculum based as well. And so when you went to this other one, was it a little bit more kind of like session by session, we're going to cover this, or did you still have at least a framework or an outline that you're working off of?
No, I blew it up. Like I went
Okay.
into every appointment armed with this list of powerful questions, and we can play some of those questions and
Yeah.
incorporate them in. And then it was really being deeply client centered of like right now in this moment, what are you ready, willing, and able to work on? And then I
Right.
would build activities and resources and next steps right around the issue of the day. So I no longer was like, I'm in charge of assigning the order. I was helping the client figure the next kind of powerful win.
Hmm.
And we coached off of that. So it was very much coaching live, which scared, can I swear on this podcast? Scared the shit out of me because I used to cling to my curriculum of like, I knew what I was going to talk about.
Right.
But People loved it. And my word of mouth referrals just exploded. And I had more business and income than I knew what to do with. So we should get some examples so people are like, what is this magic and sorcery when it comes to nutrition coaching?
Right. I mean, that kind of leads us into motivational interviewing, right? Like a
Yes.
little bit of you kind of touched on it as you were talking through that, kind of letting the client drive. But
Yep.
give us just like the quick 2 minute for someone that's brand new to motivational interviewing. What is it?
Yeah, my love language is metaphor, so I'm going to switch it as into a metaphor. Imagine you're driving in a car with a client, and if you're used to being the driver and the client's in the passenger seat, you guys are switching seats in the vehicle. So the client is going to sit in the driver's seat, you are going to be in the passenger seat, and you are the ultimate road trip buddy. So the client gets to push the gas and the brake, they get to choose the speed, they get to choose the direction. Do they want to take the side road or they want to go on the fast highway? And what you're doing as the road trip buddy is you're just keeping them on track. You're reminding them of like where they ultimately want to get to, but you're helping to keep them engaged and supported. You're a sounding board for them to work through the obstacles and challenges. And they're going to come up with really creative solutions when you ask the right questions because they know themselves. They know their lives better than anyone else. And I can story tell if that will help bring it to life with just a couple of like really cool examples.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so in motivational interviewing, what you do is essentially you just start asking questions to help people, like I said, work through and problem solve where they feel obstacles and challenges, and then also to lean into their strengths. So I'll give you an example of a couple of different clients. I'll use one male, one female. So this male client I was working with was a cop. He was a little bit overweight, but was definitely working hard to clean up his diet, lose weight, and have more energy. And we were rocking and rolling for a number of months. He came in one day and he kind of sat down, really defeated in his body language. And it was like everything we had worked on had unraveled. So instead of trying to go into like, I'm going to fix it for you, I gave him space. I sat back and I just started asking some questions. And one of the three words we use, actually, they're framed on our office wall, is this word around curiosity. So on our wall, it says, be curious, be kind, be honest. And so what I did on a blank piece of paper is I wrote those three words down for him: be curious, be kind, be honest. So with curiosity, the first thing I did is I'm like, we're going to do a bullet journaled brain dump. With curiosity, what's changed in your life in the last month since I've seen you? Has any new things come up? Has anything changed? And he's like, well, I got a really serious concussion at work. You know, I got my head bashed against a wall when I was in a scuffle with someone I was trying to arrest. I can't right now get my heart rate up too high because that sets off all my concussion symptoms. So I'm not exercising in the same way that I am. And essentially, I'm feeling really sorry for myself and I'm feeling really down. So I'm back to eating potato chips every single night after dinner while I'm like watching Netflix. And with curiosity, we just kind of got like all these factors in his life that had just started to happen. The kindness piece of the motivational interviewing game I did is I was like, let's kick the inner bully out of your brain. Because shaming yourself and being hypercritical isn't actually making you eat any better. So, like, bully goes to the curb. I was like, can I introduce the idea of this idea of three floating voices going on in your brain? Now, you're not, hearing things, but I'm going to give each voice an individual name. You've got your bully, you've got a curious detective, and you've got your wise guide, your wise, internal voice that kind of knows what you should be doing and where you want to go, and it's going to help you problem solve. So the good news is we can do two against one. The curious detective and the wise guide can gang up on the inner bully, and we can hopefully get the inner bully's mouth like duct taped, and we're going to shove it in the trunk of the car. Now, the detective's job right now on this piece of paper is you're going to look for clues. Times when you've been more successful, success leaves clues. So when you were on a better eating and exercise streak, what was common to that period for you? And when you're in more of a slump with your nutrition, without any judgment, we're just getting clues. What's connected to feeling low in motivation and energy towards all of this? And I had him write down his success streak, what was kind of common. He planned ahead. He packed a lunch. He always worked out after dinner. That was his like evening gym time, whatever the case might be. And then I go, what we're going to do with this game is your curious detective is going to take your notepad and it's going to hand it over to your wise guide. Your wise guide is the part of your brain that doesn't have a pity party. It's not going to feel sorry for itself. It's going to look at what realistic healthy steps am I able to do right now? Because I could and should assign you more exercise. You can't do that right now. That's clearly
Hmm.
triggering your concussion symptoms. So you know your wise guide the best. Let's look at what could work. Guess what idea his wise guide came up with? It like blew my mind, and I was so happy in a weird way about this. Video games. So he
Hmm.
actually identified that it was the nighttime boredom when he lost his physical activity. That's when he was really, getting into the junk food and feeling bad about himself. And he's like, if I keep my hands busy, my son is in grade 9. We like to play NHL, Nintendo, things like that against each other. The solution for me is I must stay busy. So if my hands are on a controller playing Nintendo against my son, they won't be in the bag of chips. Now, as a dietitian, what have I ever come up with assigning video games to someone to help them lose weight? No. But in his exact situation, using motivational interviewing, he came to the next right step forward based on exactly the barriers he was facing. So, like, that's a really cool example, but it's brilliant because it shows you as a coach, I let him figure out what the next positive step forward was.
That's awesome. And so, like, one question though, like, is how do you balance a little bit of like helping, like, because you know what the client should like. There's probably
Yes.
lots of times in this situation where like you just need to do this, and I
Yes.
know you need to do it, and you're just not doing it. Like, why can't we
You want a
do that? Like,
magical phrase as a coach that I keep on the tip of my tongue.
yes, give
So
me
this
that.
is actually a part of motivational interviewing. It's called asking permission first. So the way I phrase it is I go, I've you paraphrase back. I've heard this, some of the challenges or, what's going on currently. Can I make a suggestion? So I've worked with a lot of people similar to you in a situation like this. Can I offer a couple things that I think could work? And you can obviously feel them out if this could or could not be a good fit for you right now. But I have an idea. I'm wondering if you're open to it. So I'm not directly saying like this is what you have to do. You just ask
Hmm.
permission. Like I've worked with a lot of people in a similar situation. I have a couple ideas. Sometimes I'll even use the phrase, I learned this from Dr. John Berardi at Precision Nutrition. I want to hear from you first. And after I hear some ideas from you, if there's anything maybe you missed, I might fill in some gaps, but I'm curious to hear from you first. What do you think might work or what do you think might help in this situation? So that's another great way to ask them is see if they can kind of get there. And then if they can't, you might say, "Hey, can I also offer a couple other tips from other people in a similar situation that I think could work in a case like yours?"
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And and so you found that this has improved retention mainly because you just don't like get to the end of the curriculum and then it's like, okay, like what do we do now?
What do we do next? Exactly. And so we're always focusing on like building off strengths of what's realistic right now. And I'm going to I use this concept a lot it actually came from a business book, but it has a really great nutrition application. It's called the BDO versus the BTO. The BDO is the best doable option. The BTO is the best theoretical option. What a lot of nutrition coaches do is they nutrition coach the best theoretical option, the most ideal amount of protein intake, the best, most perfect fluid intake, the most ideal workout schedule. Most people can't do the BTO. And what's cool about understanding that is an option that exists only in a magical universe when all things are perfect isn't a real option. So we can actually table that and not put the stress and pressure and inner bullying into it and go realistically today, let's figure out your next healthy step forward. And I really do think of it like a staircase. And I will often draw a staircase in front of the client. And then I'll draw a picture beside it, which is a steep cliff. So if someone's on a beach, the cliff goes vertical and the top of the cliff. And I could be a nutrition coach at the top of the cliff being like, I love it up here. I eat all whole foods. I exercise daily. I prioritize my sleep. I feel amazing. But that person's going to look up to the top of the cliff and feel so defeated because they don't know how to rock climb a vertical cliff. But I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, let's look at the staircase. Today, when you leave this appointment, what's something positive we can do in your lunch today or your dinner or the next couple of things for this week? And now it's like, okay, I just have to focus on these couple of things. I can do that. I can get there. And part of my job in motivational interviewing is to help them actually put on blinders to the best theoretical sets of options that creates overwhelm, analysis paralysis, and always feeling defeated because you can't be good enough. So it's setting them up to always feel that their effort is good enough. And I use this phrase inside of my certification all the time: better is better, forward is forward. And I have my clients almost say that as a mantra to themselves, like better is better, forward is forward. And then we can find the wins in motivational interviewing so they can look at their bright spots, feel good about it, and have confidence that they are someone that when they set their mind to a task, they have follow through. Because I think one important thing for coaches is feeling defeated is one of the biggest killers of progress. So
Hmm.
my job is to help them see the success and avoid feeling defeated by making it too easy or most cases too hard.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So one thing that you have really brought into your practice that is, I mean, a little bit unique. I don't really see anyone else talking about this, is this idea of games. And
Yes.
so games and gamifying the process, and because most coaches probably think about like X's and O's, how do we execute, how do we get stuff done, but this idea of making it fun,
Yeah.
right? Tell me a little about that.
So, one of the things is if you study human psychology, and I guess I had the advantage of doing my master's on that, you have to understand how our human brains work. We like puzzles, we like challenges, but we don't like things to be too hard or too easy. That sweet spot of solving a problem, but actually feeling the like victory at the end of working hard for something. And games are a really clever way to create puzzles and challenge, but also you're having fun as you're solving it. So, I'm going to show an example from a guy that inspired me to kick this off, and his name is John. And it was a gruff old man I was working with in my diabetes masters. And he was like, I don't eat vegetables. I don't like vegetables. I don't eat vegetables. I don't eat vegetables. And I was like, how am I going to get John to like more vegetables? Just didactically telling him you should eat more vegetables is going to help with your blood sugar wasn't going to work. So I sat down at my computer one night and I just Googled different colored fruits and veggies. And I made this little list of like 100 different fruits and veggies in total. I think there's like 110. And I just went through red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purples, and whites. And I sat down with John and I gave him a Sharpie and I was like, look, you're an adult. You don't have to eat anything you find disgusting. If your mom boiled the crap out of Brussels sprouts and you think Brussels sprouts are the worst things you've ever put in your mouth, you know what? Take the Sharpie and I want you to cross Brussels sprouts off this list. But I wanted to give you like him agency. So I was like, here's
Right.
what we're going to do. It's summertime. For 1 month, can you hang this up on your refrigerator? And every time you're making your grocery list, can you see if there's like something on there that sparks your interest you might be willing to try? Maybe you are good with watermelon. Cool. Go get fresh watermelon this summer. Maybe we can get some yellow beans because you've only ever bought green beans before and you like yellow beans, you just don't think to buy them. Maybe we can find a recipe that puts cabbage into a salad for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some websites that can really like pull healthy recipes. So if you look up a particular ingredient, maybe we can build something around bok choy or green beans or parsnips or whatever the case might be. And like a sheepish, excited little kid, he came back and he was like, Jen, look, I got 42 things on the list. And here I was, I only thought I liked 3 fruits or vegetables in total. But because I didn't say you must eat more fruits and veggies, we turned it into like, hey, every time you grocery shop, check the list and then check it off each time it actually ends up inside your body. But he was in control. I wasn't
Hmm.
forcing him to eat foods he didn't like. I didn't give him a meal plan that put healthy foods on that he thought he might, distrust or just, not have a taste for it. So I was like, I am determined to get John to enjoy eating his vegetables. And there was no pressure. It was just like, if you can get past 3, you won the game because you told me you only eat 3 fruits and vegetables in total. So I set him up to win and I made it really fun at the same time.
Did you have a prize or anything, or was it just simply like the act of playing the game?
Sometimes they do. So prizes motivate some people and they don't motivate other people. And that's okay. You just have to check in with your client. So I have parents that will often do this with their kids. And what I'll encourage is them to do a family prize. Like if as a family they can get to 50 different colored fruits and veggies in a month, maybe they take the kids to a water park. So I always try to say do a non-food goal. We don't want to attach like going to Dairy
Hmm.
Queen for ice cream because you ate vegetables, but finding like something that would motivate the kids or keep the parents accountable to be a role model. You can use prizes to make it more fun as well. That's just another element of gamification.
I love that. I love that. Any other games that you use a lot?
Yes, here's another one. And we're going to actually go through this in more detail at the summit when we get to hang out in Virginia coming up later in August. So I call this game the water balloon game. And the reason is a lot of coaches love data and tracking. And I agree with coaches because it helps me fly the plane as a pilot to help my client get to where they want to go. But I also mentioned I moved away from my fitness pal, calorie counting, macro tracking because my clients were burning out. So the water balloon game goes as follows, or you can also call it the happy face game. I want you to picture three different colors: green, yellow, and red. A green happy face that's smiling. I'm going to give you three bullet points: quality, quantity, goals. So, did this meal or snack I just ate, was it high quality ingredients, whole foods first, ideally? Did I eat the right quantity? Was the portion size just right for my body? I'm not stuffed. I'm not starving. I ate the right amount. And goals. If I ate like this every day, would I move closer to my health goals that I want for myself? If you feel like a grade in school, you could give yourself an 80, 90, or 100%. So, say if you're going to have lunch after we get off this live, think about quality, quantity goals. 80 to 100, you give yourself a green face. If it's like passable, but not maybe A plus, we're going to give that a yellow neutral face. So it's like a 50 to 75%. It was decent quality, maybe could have been a little bit better. It was decent or okay portion, or like it was neutral towards your goals. Wasn't helping a ton, maybe wasn't a disaster, kind of sits in the middle. And then the red, I'm really cautious about the language that I use. The red kind of downturn face, I call it a joy choice because I'm having something that either tastes really good or is a cool social thing or just because I wanted a
Right.
cookie at Starbucks on a Tuesday afternoon. So mindfully, I let clients have a few joy choices, normally 3 to 5 in a week, maybe 7 to 10, yellows, and then the rest of the time, 3 or 4 times a day, trying to get a green. Now, the water balloon game is, imagine that this is a forest down below. I'm up in a hot air balloon and I have all these water balloons filled with paint: green, yellow, and red. And so from above, I'm looking at each individual meal and snack and I'm dropping one of my balloons from the hot air balloon. So this breakfast splashes green paint because quality, quantity goals, that breakfast every day is positive. That lunch on that day, green, water balloon, quality,
Hmm.
quantity goals. Oh, that was sort of neutral, yellow balloon. Now, from the vantage point of my hot air balloon, I can see if I have a raging forest fire or if I have a healthy green ecosystem underneath me. And then without judgment, I can look at the yellows and go, huh, would I have kept it that way? Or could I make a positive change? If I could go back, what would I switch out of my food choices to level it up to a green? And when I look at my red and my joy choices, it was like, yeah, I baked chocolate chip cookies with my niece on Friday night and had a few cookies with her. And then there were leftover cookies on Saturday, and I had more chocolate chip cookies that weekend. I would not trade those joy choices. Those were perfectly fine in my week. But notice how my forest isn't on fire. And when I do this as a pop quiz with clients, they'll often have more yellows, more reds than they thought because they're like, oh, I've been tracking my macros, my calories are okay. But the quality piece, the goal piece isn't always in alignment. So they can see it much faster. So can the coach. And then I ask a really funny follow up question. So I'll do it with you. So, Trevor, when's your birthday?
October 20th.
Oh my gosh, we're close. I'm October 23rd. So, what you would do is you would use the 20th of each month as your tracking day, and you do it just 1 week a month. So, you would do October 20th to October 27th. Then, what you can do on the back of the hot air balloon game is you can use it as like a bullet journal. You might want to record your weight. You might want to record your body composition. Say if you have an in-body scanner, you might want to record your stress score out of 10 or sleep score out of 10, or any big life events. Like if your whole family's been battling a cold or a flu and everything's been chaotic, I kind of use the back as like, what's going on in your life right now? And then how is your food showing up for that particular week of the month? And then you take 3 or 4 weeks off, you get a little break. And then on your birthday day, you track for 7 days again. So that's a way to bring tracking into nutrition coaching, but making a motivational interviewing piece with a game to go with it.
This is awesome. How do you like? So how do you come up with some of these analogies? Is this just like how your brain works?
I think so. My like second language I speak outside of English is I speak in games and metaphors and stories. But this is where my coaching practice exploded. And I want to teach more of you coaches on stage in August how to think in storytelling and games. Can you see why my word of mouth starts to spread? Because I don't do the same boring nutrition appointment of what went well, where are you struggling, what's the next step? And over time, that can start off okay, and people get very fatigued and bored because nothing exciting ever happens.
Right.
And so, because every time I have like a new game, a new question, a new resource, and I learned a cool thing from Netflix, this kept my retention going a lot longer. What does Netflix do at the end of an episode in a juicy series? They give you a trailer of what's going to happen in the next exciting episode. So I don't know if you watch reality TV. I'm like a Love is Blind fan, but like when they preview what's going to happen like in the next episode of Love is Blind or on The Bachelor, for instance, and you see like the lead sobbing or someone like in a explosive fight, you're like, I can't wait to tune in to watch that next episode. So what I started doing at the end of my nutrition coaching sessions is doing a summary of like the goals, the action steps. Here's what we covered today. And what's coming up the next time we meet. I was thinking we might do a little deep dive into blah, blah, blah topic, or we didn't quite have time today. Now, of course, if something changes, we can go in any direction you want, but I'd always kind of tease another game or idea or concept we could potentially talk about. And people are like, yeah, you know what? I think I still need to keep seeing you. And there's always just sort of that next piece that's going to be coming up on deck.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, I mean, you alluded to it a little bit that you are keynoting the Super Coach Summit in August, August 24th and 25th, right outside of DC in a really cool city called Reston, Virginia. Really close to the Dulles Airport and about 20 minutes from Reagan. So really centrally located on the East Coast. So, I mean, you gave us a little bit of a preview, but tell us a little bit more about what your talk is going to be at the summit and like why should someone come and listen to your talk?
Yeah, so my keynote coming up in August is going to be all about basically motivational interviewing, games, and storytelling better with your clients. So, my expertise is really client engagement and behavior change modification. And so, I used to be a university professor. So, the nerd in me is going to share some of the science about how we can. Because coaches get into the business because we want our clients to be successful and achieve
Right.
their goals. And many coaches have such good intentions, but they get frustrated that people aren't doing what they're asking them to do. And if your style of coaching is just to ask people to do the best theoretical option, that's where a lot of clients end up failing. So I just want to give coaches a lot of free resources, some games, some of those storytelling examples to bring more fun into their coaching sessions. But there is a really cool psychological component that I'll be teaching that will help with client follow through, clients achieving their goals, and for a coach, retention, which is going to
Hmm.
mean your livelihood and your ability to earn income and keep your clients around longer. You're going to also succeed more as a coach yourself. So, we're just going to do a lot of practical, hands on coaching activities because it's fun to talk about theory, but it's way more fun to look at what this looks like when we coach
Hmm.
real human beings. So, we're just going to play games with the audience.
I love that. And I mean, retention is really the name of the game, right? It's so much easier to retain a client than it is to constantly find new ones and keep
Yes.
filling like a leaky bucket. Right. And so I think that's awesome that that's where a lot of the focus is going to be. And I think you have like a few, like for people that come, like some extra special games or things they'll be able to
Oh
take
yeah,
home and
there'll
start
be,
executing with clients.
resources that if you're in the audience, I'll give you a special link. You can download them and pull some stuff from my certification that I normally charge thousands of dollars for. We're going to include that as part of your ticket to coming to the summit.
I love it. I love it, Jen. Well, I mean, I'm gonna drop. So we've got this going live on IG. We've got it going live on YouTube as well. So we actually have a raffle going on right now with you. And
Yes.
so we're giving away a free ticket, VIP ticket to the summit. And I just dropped the raffle inside of IG. I'm going to drop it on YouTube as well in the chat. So anyone that's listening right now, or you're watching this afterwards and you catch it before Friday is when we're going to pick a winner. Feel free to throw your name in the hat. It's free, and we're going to pick a winner and then get a free trip to, or a free, I shouldn't say a free trip. We're not paying flights or anything like that. We got free to the summit to come hang out with us for 2 days, August 24th and 25th.
Yeah, and whoever wins the raffle under like my name, I definitely want to hang out with you one-on-one. So we'll get some extra time together to just chat all things nutrition coaching.
Yeah, and that's really like, we don't bring people to the event that aren't going to hang out and coach outside of like being on stage. Like, we
Yeah.
only bring people in that are going to engage, they're going to be around, they're there for the 2 days. And so, yes, you'll see them speak, but then you'll talk to them in the hallways, and then you'll see them at lunch. And so it's meant to be a smaller, more interactive event. There's too many events where it's like, okay, the speakers on stage and then they bounce and you never see them again for the rest of the event, and that's not really what we're trying to put out there. So
That's not the Coach
um,
Catalyst vibe.
that's not our way. And so, but the whole event is all around helping you become better as a coach. So there's kind of multiple facets to this, right? We're bringing Jen in to help teach you how to be a better coach, right? Whether it's nutrition, fitness, it really doesn't matter. Motivational interviewing transcends any specific realm of health and fitness, right?
Yeah.
And then we're bringing in business coaches and branding coaches so that we're getting your brand right. We're teaching you how to get more clients. We're teaching you how to move those clients into paid programs. And so the goal is to help you become a complete coach. And that means we have to learn the business side of it, whether you like it or not, because we just assume that you're going to become a great coach because, like, that's what you're passionate about, right? But we can always get better by learning from people like Jen.
Thank you. I can't wait to
Cool.
see you guys in August. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, this has been awesome, Jen. I really appreciate you hanging out. I know on IG, my Riverside didn't exactly send us over the cleanest image. We're side by side rather than up and down. So
Oh,
we'll figure out. I'll get the replays, get them around, but you can hear us talking, and it's like you don't need to see my unkept hair, anyways. So all right, Jen. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll talk soon.
thanks, guys.